If you love Genshin Impact, these 25 stunning games on Steam will keep you hooked for hundreds of hours. Starting off the list, Wuthering Waves immediately earns its place as one of the most visually impressive action RPGs available right now. Developed by Kuro Games, this title draws heavily from the open-world exploration formula made popular by Genshin, but pushes the combat deeper with a dodge cancel and parry system that rewards skill rather than luck. The world itself is hauntingly beautiful, filled with ruined civilizations and eerie ambient sound design. Character animations are fluid and detailed, and the gacha system, while present, feels more generous than many competitors. It runs on modern hardware with impressive fidelity and has a dedicated player base that continues to grow. If you want a game that scratches the Genshin itch while feeling distinctly its own thing, Wuthering Waves is where you start. Coming in at number 2, Tower of Fantasy takes the open-world anime RPG concept and wraps it inside a sci-fi shell that feels refreshingly different. Rather than a fantasy setting, you explore a world powered by comet-derived energy called Omnium, and the tone shifts between apocalyptic tension and colorful adventure. The game features a shared open world with other players, making exploration feel alive and social. Combat is weapon-based rather than character ability locked, giving you more flexibility in how you build your playstyle. Mounts, gliding, and climbing make traversal genuinely fun. The updates have been consistent, and the current version offers a significant amount of content for new players jumping in right now. Number 3 belongs to Honkai Star Rail, which swaps real-time combat for a turn-based strategy system, while keeping the same polished anime art direction and rich storytelling that Hoyoverse is known for. Set across multiple planets aboard a cosmic train, the game tells a genuinely compelling sci-fi narrative, with characters that have real personality and depth. The strategic layer is deep enough to satisfy fans of classic JRPGs, while remaining accessible to newcomers. Gacha rates are considered fair within the genre, and regular story chapters keep the content pipeline active. If you prefer thinking over reflex-based combat, this is one of the best games you can play on Steam in this space right now. Punishing Gray Raven lands at number 4 with some of the most technically impressive real-time combat in the entire genre. The game is set in a dark, post-apocalyptic world where humanity fights machine-corrupted entities, and the tone is far grittier than Genshin. Combat requires precise inputs, dodges, and QTE chains that make fights feel like a performance rather than just button mashing. The story is surprisingly deep and delivered through well-produced cutscenes. Visually, it is extremely polished, with high-resolution character models and smooth animations, even during complex combat sequences. It is not a casual experience, but for players who want mechanical depth paired with stunning visuals, Punishing Gray Raven consistently delivers. At number 5, Blue Protocol represents one of the more ambitious anime-style MMORPGs to reach Western audiences in recent memory. Developed using Unreal Engine, the game achieves a visual style that looks almost hand-painted in motion, resembling a fully playable anime film. Combat is action-oriented, with class-based mechanics and group content designed for cooperative play. The world is large and detailed, with distinct zones that each carry their own aesthetic identity. It draws inspiration from classic anime fantasy epics and targets players who enjoy group dungeon content alongside open-world exploration. For fans of stylized visuals above all else, Blue Protocol is a genuine showpiece. Coming in at number 6, Ni no Kuni Crossworlds brings the beloved Studio Ghibli-inspired art direction into a multiplayer online format. The visuals are soft, warm, and carry that unmistakable storybook quality that made the original Ni no Kuni game so memorable. The world is expansive and filled with charming characters, quests, and seasonal events. It features mounted combat, guild systems, and a surprisingly involved crafting economy. While the monetization draws some criticism, the sheer visual charm and accessible game loop make it one of the most inviting entries on this list for players who prefer a lighter, more whimsical tone compared to darker titles in the genre. Number 7 is Lost Ark, which approaches the Genshin-adjacent space from the isometric action RPG angle. The game offers an enormous amount of content, from story-driven islands and continents to high-end raids and PvP modes. Class variety is exceptional, with each class feeling mechanically distinct and visually unique. The combat is fast, explosive, and satisfying in a way few ARPGs can match. While the endgame can feel demanding in terms of time investment, the journey through the main story alone offers dozens of hours of quality content. It remains one of the most played games on Steam and continues to receive major updates regularly. At number 8, Final Fantasy XIV Online stands as one of the most content-rich MMORPGs ever made. Its story, particularly from the Heavensward expansion onward, is widely regarded as among the best narrative experiences in the MMO genre. The game supports solo play through its story MSQ and group content through its excellent Duty Finder system. The crafting and gathering systems are deep enough to constitute their own gameplay loop entirely. Job variety covers every imaginable playstyle, and the community has a reputation for being notably welcoming to new players. For anyone willing to invest time, FFI 14 offers a world that rewards exploration in every sense. Number 9 is Black Desert Online, a game renowned for producing some of the most stunning character models and open-world visuals available in the MMO space. The combat system is one of the most fluid and complex in the genre, built around combos, awakening skills, and positional play that feels genuinely cinematic when mastered. Life skills like fishing, trading, and cooking offer a complete alternative experience for players who prefer non-combat content. The world is visually breathtaking, and the fashion system gives players enormous customization freedom. Black Desert rewards players who commit to its depth and remains a visual benchmark for the genre overall. Scarlet Nexus holds the 10th spot with its stylish sci-fi action and psychokinesis-based combat that makes every fight feel creatively chaotic. You play as a soldier with the power to throw environmental objects at mutated monsters called Others, and the visual design of those enemies is genuinely unsettling in the best way. The dual protagonist story structure gives you 2 full narrative campaigns with different perspectives on the same events. Anime cutscenes are integrated smoothly with in-game gameplay. The bond system deepens character relationships and unlocks new passive abilities, adding an RPG layer beneath the action. It is polished, stylish, and underrated within its genre. Code Vein arrives at 11 as a stylish action RPG that draws obvious inspiration from the Soulsborne formula, while wrapping it in an anime vampire aesthetic that feels entirely its own. Character customization is incredibly deep, letting you build a protagonist with a look that rivals dedicated character creators. The Blood Code system lets you swap classes and abilities freely, encouraging experimentation across different builds. Partner AI companions assist in combat and carry their own story threads that add emotional weight. The world design balances oppressive post-apocalyptic ruins with moments of visual beauty. It is challenging but approachable, and its visual style remains striking several years after release. At 12, Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet takes the beloved anime franchise into third-person shooter territory with RPG progression layered on top. Set inside a virtual reality game within the SAO universe, it follows a custom protagonist who builds relationships with familiar characters from the series. The gunplay is satisfying, with a variety of weapons and skill builds available. Cooperative multiplayer lets you tackle missions with friends, and PvP modes add competitive depth. For fans of the anime, seeing the aim-cut aesthetic translated into an explorable shooter world is genuinely enjoyable. For newcomers, it works well as a standalone RPG without requiring knowledge of the source material. Tales of Arise comes in at 13 as one of the finest action JRPGs released in the modern era. The game is visually stunning, using a painterly art direction that gives every environment a handcrafted quality. Combat is real-time with a companion system that lets you chain attacks between party members for high-damage boost strikes. The story addresses themes of oppression, freedom, and identity with more sincerity than the genre often attempts. Voice acting across both English and Japanese tracks is excellent. Exploration rewards curiosity, and the pacing of the narrative remains engaging from start to finish. It is a complete and polished experience, with no live service obligations. 14 goes to Granblue Fantasy Relink, which translates one of the most popular mobile gacha universes into a fully realized action RPG built for consoles and PC. The character roster pulls from decades of beloved Granblue units, each with unique mechanics that make party building genuinely interesting. Combat flows beautifully in solo and cooperative modes, with boss encounters designed to test coordination between players. Visually, it achieves a balance between the classic Granblue art style and modern 3D fidelity. The endgame content provides significant depth for dedicated players, and the game launched in a complete, polished state that felt respectful of the player's time. At 15, Stellar Blade is a third-person action game that delivers cinematic combat with a deeply stylized visual presentation. The protagonist, Eve, is one of the most visually detailed characters in recent gaming, and her combat animations reflect that level of craft in every exchange. The game draws from Souls-like sensibilities and its dodge and parry combat, while maintaining a more accessible difficulty curve than traditional Soulsborns. The world blends post-apocalyptic desolation with architectural beauty. Side content expands the lore meaningfully without padding the runtime. It is a well-directed experience from start to finish, with production values that genuinely impress throughout. Number 16 is Forspoken, a game that polarized critics but carries genuine strengths in its magic-based parkour movement system. Frey's ability to chain spells together while sprinting across terrain creates a traversal experience unlike anything else in open-world gaming. The magic combat itself scales impressively as you unlock more spells, turning late-game encounters into visually chaotic spectacles. The world of Athia is large and visually ambitious. While the narrative writing received criticism at launch, updates and perspective over time have led many players to revisit and appreciate what the game achieves technically. For movement enjoyers, it remains a unique entry in the genre. Aether Gazer secures the 17th spot as a sleek cyberpunk action RPG with some of the most fluid mobile-to-PC combat available in the gacha space. The visual design is sharp and modern, blending deity mythology with futuristic aesthetics in a way that feels distinct within the genre. Combat is fast and stylish, with character-switching mechanics that reward building cohesive team compositions. The story is delivered competently, with decent production values throughout. Regular updates keep the content rotating, and the gacha rates are considered reasonable. For players who want something visually polished in a more compact package than the major MMORPGs on this list, Aether Gazer delivers consistently. The First Descendant lands at 18 as a looter shooter that blends third-person gunplay with Warframe-style character abilities in an anime-influenced visual package. The game is built for cooperative play, with 4-player squads tackling dungeons, open-world events, and demanding intercept boss battles. Each Descendant character has a distinct ability kit that fundamentally changes how you approach encounters. The graphics push modern hardware impressively, and the world design ranges from lush wilderness to industrial corridors. While the monetization drew criticism at launch, the core gameplay loop of fighting, looting, and building remains genuinely compelling for fans of the looter genre. 19 is Zenless Zone Zero, the latest flagship release from Hoyoverse that brings Genshin-adjacent production values into an urban fantasy setting, inspired by stylish anime and Hong Kong street culture. Combat is combo-driven and cinematic, with character switching mid-chain creating flashy sequences that feel great to execute. The visual design is exceptional, with character art that rivals anything in the genre. The hub city of New Eridu serves as your base of operations between missions, filled with side activities and story threads. It launched in a polished state and receives consistent updates. For Genshin fans wanting something from the same developer, but with a completely different tone and aesthetic, this is the natural next step. At 20, Naraka Bladepoint takes a sharp departure from RPG territory into the Battle Royale genre, but does so with a melee-focused combat system and anime-influenced visual design that makes it stand out from every other Battle Royale on the market. Movement is vertical and aggressive, built around grappling hooks and wall running. Combat rewards timing, prediction, and the mastery of individual hero abilities. The art direction draws from Chinese mythology and is strikingly beautiful in motion. Regular seasons refresh the experience with new characters and maps. For players who want competitive action with the visual aesthetic of an anime game, Naraka Bladepoint is in a category of its own. Warframe claims the 21st spot as one of the longest-running and most content-rich free-to-play action games on PC. The movement system, built around parkour, bullet jumps, and aerial combat, remains one of the most expressive in gaming, even years after its introduction. Each Warframe suit plays dramatically differently, and the depth of the modding system rewards players who invest time into optimization. The visual design of the suits and environments is consistently impressive and has only improved with major updates. The developer, Digital Extremes, has maintained one of the most player-respecting monetization models in the free-to-play space. There is genuinely no ceiling on how deep you can go in this game. Dragon's Dogma 2 arrives at 22 as one of the most ambitious open-world action RPGs released in recent years. The pawn system, where you build AI companions that other players can borrow online, creates a unique social layer beneath what feels like a single-player experience. Combat is physical and tactile, with large monsters that you can physically climb and attack at weak points. Vocations cover a wide range of playstyles, from sorcerer to thief to mystic spearhand. The world is dense with secrets, hidden quests, and emergent situations that rarely repeat. It is a game that rewards patience and curiosity above all, and stands as one of the most original open-world designs of this generation. At 23, Elden Ring needs little introduction as the game that brought From Software's design philosophy to its widest audience yet. The open world of the Lands Between is filled with legacy dungeons, optional bosses, and lore delivered through environmental storytelling and item descriptions. Combat is deliberate, weighty, and rewarding in a way that defines the Souls-like genre. The visual design ranges from breathtaking golden vistas to oppressively dark underground labyrinths. Multiple build archetypes allow for dramatically different playthroughs. While demanding, it is also deeply fair, and its reputation as one of the greatest games ever made is well earned. If you have not played it, there is no better time. Bright Memory Infinite takes the 24th position as a visually stunning first-person action game that packs an impressive amount of graphical ambition into a short but polished experience. The game blends gunplay with sword combat and supernatural abilities, creating a hybrid action system that feels fast and satisfying. The environments are a mix of ancient ruins and futuristic urban settings, rendered with exceptional detail. It supports ray tracing and high-resolution rendering that makes it one of the better-looking action games available at its price point. While the runtime is short, the quality of the experience is high, and it serves as a strong showcase of what a small development team can achieve with modern tools. Finally, at 25, Aion Classic closes the list as a visually reworked version of the classic MMORPG that blends high fantasy aesthetics with aerial combat and large-scale PvP warfare. The wing system remains one of the most visually striking features in the MMO genre, and flying through the world of Atreya still holds up as an experience. The game retains the depth of its original systems, while making the presentation more accessible to modern players. Crafting, faction conflict, and dungeon content provide a full suite of traditional MMO activities. For players who appreciate the scale and social depth of classic online worlds, delivered with a refined visual code, Aion Classic earns its place on this list.